You're cruising on a motorcycle to another dimension in time. The dimension not only of beer and rock and roll, but of twisted minds and sexual and the wild card of crazy imagination that has no boundaries. There's a warning, a sign up ahead. Stop.
Yeah, what's up? It's another Manic Monday. I got no idea where that's coming from. It's like it's 1 mile square basically, and everything is right there on the beach. And we were about 2 blocks right from the beach.
Yep, real close.
Real close. And all you do,
It only goes out 3 blocks.
right? All you do is you can do like we did the glass water boat,
Yeah,
which is pretty awesome. I wasn't sure how the whole thing was, but then when the people started feeding, that they had these food chutes, and it goes down in between where the seating areas that you're sitting. Then all the fish come up, and it's like a trick because all the fish knew. So once we got to like the cove where the guy kind of sits, all the fish started coming up to the boat, like as if they already knew they were going to get fed. Like really bizarre. And then once they fed, then it was just like you looked down, you could see the coral and stuff down there, and you couldn't see nothing but fish. It was awesome. And then basically, the only thing left there to do is eat, drink, and sleep.
Pretty much.
We ate pretty good, but I tell you what, I had the most expensive lobster and steak dinner of my life, $80. It was good.
Did you bend over for it?
I did not. But $80.
I'm pretty damn close.
Well, I mean, you're stuck. I mean, I think they pretty much know that. They know you're there. Where you're going to go. You're not going to, let's just go to Corona and go to, the Texas Roadhouse and get a steak. Screw this place.
Yeah.
But they got you. Yeah. But Steve's, which was the place we went to, we found out afterward that was the most higher class place. That was the go-to place where most of your people that cruising yachts over there go to. But other than that,
lovey.
It was great. Yeah. Then of course we were going run the boat. And I started seeing the Gildan's Alley.
Yeah.
Well, me and Vijay did it.
Of course.
The other guys forgot what the lyrics were.
Yeah, I couldn't make it. Sorry, but either way,
it was a blast, man. I recharged my batteries. We stayed at the Las Palomas.
Looked cool.
It was nice.
Yeah, it looked really nice.
They're like little bungalows. You walked, it was kind of uphill, then you kind of like in the steps, and each bungalow had like a little seating area. It was all had like this vine going over, and then there's a bunch of vegetation, and then each little bungalow had like a little seating area and stuff. And so you had your microwave, and you had your refrigerator and all the comforts of home. It was nice. Cool. So when we chilled out at night, we just sat back out in front and just had a few cocktails. It was great.
Yeah, just give me the date of the next one. I'll try to make the next.
I think Santa Cruz.
Santa Cruz.
Yeah,
that sounds cool.
We'll do Santa Cruz next time.
Nice,
so,
nice.
You have a good time, JJ?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Nice, just unwinding, relaxing. It was cool.
I don't think people got that video I did. You and I were up on the wharf, and Jordy was swimming. I don't think a lot of people have watched John Panette, because when I posted it on Facebook, Jordy was swimming, and Jordy's, he's fat like me, and I was like, hey, I said, hey Jordy, free Rui.
I saw that one.
You don't think he got it either. But anyways, my batteries are charged. I feel great. It was the perfect way to start out tonight's show, which is called the Paranormal Show. I actually set this up well in advance. I'm thinking probably about 3 months in advance. We have in-house, we have Albert Taylor. Welcome aboard, Albert.
Thank you very much.
And Albert, we have a little history besides motorcycles, but we have a little story to tell a little bit later. It has to do with the boy's mom, my son's mom. We have Diane.
Good evening.
Good evening, Diane. And as far as paranormal, where do you stand on the paranormal? Because obviously Katie brought you in.
I've been investigating for about 10 years now, and I'm kind of the yang to Katie's yin. Katie is super sensitive, and not like you say things to her and she cries, but it's more of that she'll tell you if things are happening, and I'm more of the balanced level. I always say I'm as sensitive as a rock, so I'm more of the skeptic,
grounded.
Let's slow down. Let's look for other causes type paranormal. But I've definitely had experiences. I'm 100% believer, or else I wouldn't have been doing this all these years.
So you're the devil's advocate, like, okay, it could be just a gust of wind, or it could be this, right?
Yes.
So, Katie, welcome, Katie Foreman.
Thank you.
We did. I think I touched base with you first, and your friend Christine. We'll give her a shout out. So
Hi, Christina.
Christine, she couldn't make it tonight.
Yeah, our son's sick.
Yeah, son is sick. I've got 2 boys myself, and when they get sick, it's like, man, your world is just comes to a halt, and you just want to take care of the children.
Yeah.
Even though my boys are 17 and 19, I still turn into, dad mom,
Mr. Mom.
Mr. Mom mode. So. But anyways, Katie, how long have you been doing the whole paranormal thing, and what got you into it?
Well, pretty much I've been doing it for at least 35 years, and this is because the spirit started shouting at me. I'd be at places and I wouldn't hear with my ears, but in my head, I'm feeling like someone has just shouted at me and said a name or a statement or something, and so I go kind of explore what was said to me, and then connections would be made and start seeing things, hearing things, and kind of tried to get away from it, but they wouldn't let go, and so I'll be at certain places and I'm not paying attention. Suddenly some spirit is going, Richard, and I'll ask someone, do you know Richard? And then they'll say, oh yeah, it's my deceased husband or something.
And at first, a lot of things when it comes to paranormal, people kind of freaked out.
Yeah.
And so, I'm sure, because if you did it for 35 years, you obviously started realizing you had this, with you when you were very young.
Yes.
And it was, I guess I'm assuming it was kind of hard for you to break out of that and actually, tell people and come forward with it. Because you'd be like, yeah, I'm hearing voices, and people are like, oh yeah, Katie's hearing voices in her head.
Yeah.
We need to figure this out. So how did that come about?
Well, mom and dad try and shut it down. That's not good. That's not right. That's too scary. Ooh,
Were they religious?
Yeah,
Okay.
just a real basic Protestant, but it doesn't really matter. They came from an era where this is bad news, and you just don't do this kind of thing, and so they tried to shut it down. So I had no one to talk to about it and everything. I had a friend or two once in a while, but everyone kind of, nothing was on TV or anything. So everybody had an opinion. It's good or it's bad. It's right or it's wrong. And it was very black and white when I was growing up. And then these shades of gray started coming out because these shows started coming on when maybe it's kind of iffy in this area or in this situation. I've been watching the general public over the last 10 years become more and more accepting you know, you don't have to whisper anymore and
Right.
stuff.
I'm an atheist.
Okay.
So how does that work? I mean, are you religious, and how does that work? And because I mean, obviously the Bible is definitely not the same. Even though some people that deal with the paranormal will say, well, you know, God reaches out to people the same way. Jesus reached out to people the same way. Mother Mary, whoever it is, the saints will reach out and speak to these people. So then people will be like, that's the same thing. Where are you on that?
I was raised with a Protestant background, but you have your formal religion with, you know, kind of a list of do's and don'ts. And then all of this kind of stretched beyond that. It was kind of, if I'm being taught this, how the heck is this coming into play? I don't understand it. So I had to be a little more, you know, you make a decision. Are you going to shut it all off and not be accepting of anything more? Or are you going to say, well, maybe there's more to the story that I'm going to have to research on my own? And so you kind of incorporate it all together. You've got this sort of base belief system, and yet why are the spirits still coming around and shouting and stuff? So it's a blend. So then you end up calling yourself spiritual, or, you know, something more modern, metaphysical.
Okay. Now, Albert, you're on a different spectrum. That's why I'm coming back. And you are an investigator of the paranormal. And now, what do you do? Now, you've also written a book,
Right.
A bestseller, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And
Got
so,
lucky.
and how and no, I never even knew this. You know, when we were sitting there, reading. When I was sitting there working on your bike, I was sitting there reading your bike. He hands me a book. When I'm working on your bike, I had no idea. We had plenty of conversations, and then all of a sudden, I posted something on Facebook, and my boy's mother, she was in real estate, and she was at a house.
Mm-hmm.
And she was really freaked out. She called me. First thing she was, Zig, I need you to come here. She walked into the living room, and instantly, things started. I can't go into details. I don't really know the details. I can't remember. But she ran back out of the house and called me and said, Zig, I need you to come to this house with me. I'm afraid to go back in. There's something in there. I said, is it someone? You know, call the police. She goes, no, there's something in that house.
Yeah, not a squatter.
And I forget what it was, but I made a post. I just went over there, and I walked in the house with her. I didn't feel anything, even though I do believe it, and I have some really good stories to tell you, and I'm looking for some really good answers from you guys. But your part is to investigate the paranormal. Am I correct?
Correct.
And I
scientifically investigate.
Exactly. And so and not scientifically to debunk it, but to actually,
I'm neutral.
Okay.
I'm not a believer. I'm not a disbeliever.
Okay. I posted on Facebook, and you replied, said, I do this. Because I was like, I'm really interested in doing this, or find out what's going on. And you went and investigated the house. What happened?
Well, we arrived at about midnight. There's about 50 people on my team, but there's about 12 of us there. This was at a house that's 100 years old in Rialto. We walked in, of course the power was off, and we walked in. The first thing we did is set up cameras, night vision, things like that. We started using EMF, electromagnetic field meters, and the first thing that we noticed is that normally with electricity, your power is running through a switch or something like that, and you'll get an EMF reading from live wires. But because the power was off, we were getting some readings, Gauss readings, and what was really strange about it is they were floating. They weren't stationary, and that's a little out of the normal, even just in a regular type of home. And they were in the center of the room, not too high, not too low. That's almost not possible. Didn't think too much of that. We all went upstairs, and upstairs was really interesting. We found a hidden doorway or hidden passageway behind a bookshelf, which was really interesting. And that particular investigation, I talk about this particular one all the time, is that I didn't want to go into the passageway because it looked like it hadn't been disturbed in maybe 50 years or more. So the last thing I wanted was 12 people trucking through that and disturbing and messing up all the evidence. So that's where I first got the idea, is because of my background in NASA and things like that. That's where I first got the idea to develop autonomous robots for my investigation. And that was one of the first places I actually got a chance to use an autonomous robot to investigate that particular location. What was really interesting out of everything we did there was not the investigation itself, it was the film or the video that we recovered afterwards. And I like to share this with a lot of people, is that you can see us all walk up the stairs. You know, you've been there. You come in through the front door, you turn right, and there's staircases over to the left there, and you go up the stairs. You could see that we set up the video at the fireplace, and you see us all walk in, and then within about maybe 5 seconds later, and I'll show you the video if you ever want to see it, I'll be glad to, is you can see a partially, and this is the holy grail for paranormal investigators, you can see a partially humanoid figure, which was really interesting. And it wasn't just stationary, it followed us into the bedroom and up the stairs. That's on the video. So that was quite interesting. I called the realtor who let us in there, and I wanted to inform her of what happened and showed the video. But unfortunately, I understand, she never returned her call, which I understand because I believe California has a law that if someone dies or there's a paranormal occurrence or something like that, you have to report it, and that would make it very difficult to sell the house if you did report
Correct.
it. So I understand.
Yeah.
Well, that's
What's the address?
interesting.
No, I'm just kidding.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's that old, that probably is the case.
Well, they probably before the law went into effect, I'm assuming. But you know, I mean, there's it, and I'm gonna give you guys. I'm gonna tell you something. My son, he's inside the room over here. This is something that it was actually. I'm gonna say this one. I'm gonna go to another one. When I first opened up my shop, I'm surprised that well, this goes back to Katie, because Katie, you have the sensory.
Yeah.
You know, so you sense. You know, you're the investigator, which is actually got the stuff that's going to actually pick up the entities and what have you.
I'm trying to gather data.
Okay, very good. So this is not on me.
They have a sign for him.
They
Which is
do.
funny. I hadn't seen
They
that
keep
sign
flashing
before.
the sign for me.
We're supposed to be discreet about it, but we're all laughing when they show us the
Yes,
sign.
dears.
So it's too loud.
I'm actually single, but I actually do have 2 wives here. You know, I got Alina and I got Rachel that will put me in check.
Yeah, she's about to put you in check right now.
I'm just saying. See, she's already doing it right now.
Isn't that illegal in California?
It's only illegal if you're caught.
Okay, now my shop, I have a spirit at my shop. And I'm going to give you an example. When I first opened up my shop, I was there for many hours, you know, so I'm there, I get there, and I'm not, it's like, you know, 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I could hear things moving, and especially in the unit next to me. But I can always hear things when I'm in the office. I can hear things, you know, justing around in my service bay. And I look out, I'm like, you know what the hell, there's nothing here. I'm the only person. There's several units in my complex. You've been there, Albert. But there's nobody there. But I can, toilets flushing. Which people, when I said that, people are like, well, maybe these don't have their little floater thing, you know. Okay, I'll give that. I don't know. Yeah, and then it'll make the toilet flush, or just like wants to fill up. That's the sound you hear. But things moving, I'm sorry. I know I'm not sitting here making this stuff up. And I had the boys, my sons, there a couple of times, and they're like, you know, wow, what the heck? We actually heard, it sounded like someone was taking a bat and hitting something in one of the cars out back. Like bang, bang, you know, and the boys ran out, we both ran out there, or me, all 3 of us ran out there. There was nothing there. to see at all. I was changing a tire. I had a customer sitting. You haven't been there in a little while. I have a seating area now, but before people would sit right there next to the split door. They can look inside the service bay. I'm working on my tire machine, changing this gentleman's tire. He's sitting there. I see the top of his head, and I'm moving the tire, and then I just happen to see a figure. Someone walk in. I look, and I see the figure walk over to the display case, and I said, "I'll be right there." So I finished doing this guy's tire. I put the tire on the balance machine, and I walk out to see who walked in. I don't want to leave him just standing there for several minutes. And I look, and there's nobody standing there. And I said, "Hey, did the gentleman just leave that just walked in?" And the customer looked like, "Who?" But when I seen the figure walk into the bay door, to the front door, and then I looked like this, I watched that figure walk over to the display case. So now I seen a figure. Like an actual, like I'm looking at you guys.
Did it make the doorbell go off?
It did. I didn't have the dinger ringer thing.
Oh.
Yeah. What the heck? So and he's looking at me like, "No, what? What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Forget it." Coming to find out, I found this out like about a year later that somebody who owned the people who owned the shop before me, they were using it. They were drug guys, and they were using it as a storefront, and it was like a tire and wheel thing. And they ended up having this guy. They had this someone who messed them up or had some hidden drugs or was screwing them over. They had a container out back, and they tortured him to death. And then when the cops raided this place, they found him in that container. So I'm just thinking, okay, well, the guy's, that's why he's not like an angry person, you know what I mean? It's like, at least not with me anyways. But is that something now, okay, let's just, I'm gonna go to Diane and Katie, okay?
Yes.
Because I'm gonna come back to Albert on this one. Now, if I brought you to, if I gave you the address to my shop, do you think, because I can see this entity at least a couple, 3 times a week. I know, I don't get the feeling like there's a presence there, but I'll be like, I can see something walk literally out of the corner of my eye. And I use peripheral vision on a motorcycle, so my peripheral vision is not jacked up, so I don't see cars on the side of me that are right there. Okay, so what would you, if I told you this story? We met at Zorba's Burgers, and I told you the story. What would you tell me in return?
First, I'd stop you from telling me the story so I could go in as a sensitive and see what I pick up. Because if you tell me everything ahead of time, we don't know that I actually got information from the spirit, because you've already filled my head with predisposed thoughts and concepts and what could have and what might be and everything.
Way to go, Zig.
So you just totally blew it.
But what I would say is, don't talk to her, but come over and talk to me.
Yeah.
Because I want to know where it happened. Because as she's going through and sensing, I'm going to go through at the same time and start investigating and trying to pick up what she may be sensing, or kind of debunking what she's sensing and what you may have experienced.
Trying to play the devil's advocate then, basically.
Yes.
Right. She's going to get out like he does, the scientific equipment, and start measuring things naturally. What sets things off, and what are the natural causes, and what are not the natural causes and stuff. It's very unusual for someone to get murdered and tortured and not be upset.
Well, he just meant not upset with him.
With me. That's what I was very specific of that. Obviously, the person's not mad with me.
We do a lot of houses where it's not the people currently living there, but the spirits are upset with the people currently living there, even though they're not the cause of their problem or whatever and stuff. So, they really let go.
When you have a situation like that, though, there's so much emotion attached to that not only with the guy that got knocked, but the guys that were doing the knocking. You know, there was a lot of anger and hatred. There was probably fear. You know, there's a whole plethora of emotions going on there that have probably left their imprint at that location.
Mm-hmm.
And as you were talking, I want to ask you a couple things. Do things, like maybe tools or something, go missing? You think you set them down and then you go
All the time.
Okay, these are things I was picking up as you were talking. Is that this guy's kind of a jokester, and he really is a good-natured person. He's kind of a jokester, and he kind of likes to hide things, and kind of he sees you as a buddy, you know, like a hey bro, you know, kind of a thing. So yeah, he has no issue with you, which is very unusual. You're lucky.
Yeah, because Ephraim is one of my buddies that works for me. Ephraim, Bones, Bobo. I need you guys to call in to verify this, and also Rusty. Like you said, mentioned, I've actually laid a tool down. When I work on a motorcycle, all my tools, and like I said, Albert's been there while I was working on his bike. I set the tools right there on the lift. I work. They don't leave that lift. They leave that. Well, the only time they leave that lift was when I put them back in my toolbox. Right. But I've been working on a bike, and then I go on the other side of the bike, and then I know I had that tool on the other side. I walk back over, and the tool's not there. I'm like, oh, I know, it was just here. And I will find that tool next to the sink where I wash my hands, which is clear across the service.
And isn't that the weirdest thing? Shouldn't you be seeing that thing like floating 20 feet across the room?
You would think.
Yeah.
And suddenly it's over there, and you think in Star Trek, you know, where they transport it, and how is this happening? You know.
And how is that sneaky? I mean, it's something I just don't notice, or I'm just so focused on what I'm doing. You know, you're going to need to come to my shop, obviously.
We are.
You know, I think that would be really interesting to figure this out, just to see. I mean, like I said, obviously. I mean, I've been around. I've had a lot. I could sit here. I could tell we could, if we only have 2 hours. And out to you guys, that seems like a long time. But trust me, when the show's over, you're like, oh wow, that went by quick. I wish I could sit here for a week. If we could sit here for a week and talk about this, we could talk. I mean, I've got stories since I was a child. Now, Albert, if I told you this story, I never have. What would you do at this instant? Would you be like, hey, you know, oh my God, I need to set some stuff up here?
It'd be very similar to what was shared by my colleagues here. I'm an investigator, so I have intuitives, I call them, on my team, because I believe that people are sensitive to subtle energies. So what I would do is I would send them in to the location with a clipboard. They would be isolated from the investigative team, the researchers with equipment and things like that. I would then, after they're finished, we wouldn't talk to them. We'd go in separately with equipment and go over the same areas and measurements and collect as much data as we could, audio and video, and then we'd come back and compare our notes. Prior to that, I would do what I call like a investigative kind of a triage kind of thing, because there's a lot of questions that need to be asked, and not everybody's having a paranormal situation. Sometimes it's not paranormal. Sometimes it's birds in the attic, or rats or something like that. So that needs to be eliminated. So I would do a thorough and preliminary questionnaire, and then from that would dictate what kind of investigation and how many people that I would need to go and do the investigation.
So now I have another one, and see if you guys can figure this out. I'm gonna let my buddies here bring something up. Now this one is my freaky deaky one. I'm not one to like really make up some wild stories, but I'm not good at it. Otherwise, I'd be a good storyteller around a campfire. But this one here really blew my mind. It was the most really surreal thing ever in my whole life. Thank you, Lena. I love you.
Yeah, you sucked at your stories this weekend. I was like, what the hell, man?
That's because we were intoxicated all weekend. I did some laundry, and I put it in the washing machine, full load, and went in about my business. I mean, well, laundry takes 15 minutes. So I walked back out there to take the laundry and put it in the dryer. The laundry was not in there. And and I opened the dryer, there's nothing in the dryer. And I'm like, I go back in the house, boys. Did you guys, take my laundry? Because we have 3 guys in the house. It's a man cave, so guys they don't care. They're not going to sit there and put your laundry inside the dryer. They're going to take it out and handle their own stuff, whether it's wet or not. And I'm like, guys, did you guys move my laundry? No. I knock on my roomie's door. Hey, did you move my laundry? Nope. So I'm like, I know I was doing laundry. I'm not that. I mean, I'm getting old, and the brain has diminished a little bit, but I'm not imagining things. And I says, guys, I just put a load of laundry in here. No one knew what that was going on. We looking around the garage. I'm like, then I start thinking, okay, you guys are messing with me. Yeah, I know who's messing with me. No, I'm serious, Dad. Nothing. All right. So I just kind of put it off, and we're talking like 2 days went by. I figured, no, it'll show up. And I went into the garage. I was like, well, screw it. I was going to do another load of laundry. I opened up the wash machine, and there was my laundry as if it never was taken out. It was still stuck to the side of the wash machine. I ran into the house, and I got the boys. Boys, okay, what's going on here? And sure enough, Drake was freaking out. My son that's in the green room. No way, really? I mean, 2 days went by, and now my laundry is back inside the wash machine, exact as if it was never, just after the spin cycle. So, who wants to tackle that one?
Okay, well, first of all, if I'm going to get a client contacting us that has that particular story, I would not come to the house on that one story, because usually spirit isn't going to do one thing and that's it. So I'm going to ask you, are there other things that have been happening? Also, a spirit moving laundry and putting it back is an unusual. You have your rules and there's always exceptions. So not to say they wouldn't, but I'm going to look for more natural causes on that one initially. And if you swear, absolutely, then I would just tell you, let's touch base in a couple of weeks, because isolated incidences like that just probably wouldn't warrant an investigation yet. Not to discredit what happened to you.
Now, if they had folded the laundry and put it away for you,
Oh, that would have been awesome.
then we would be there.
Then they can stay.
That would have been awesome. I'd be like going, shoot, I'm just going to keep piling my laundry up until it gets done.
No complaint.
I get a lot of wandering spirits. It could be something like that, where they just pop in for a second, do something, then they're somewhere on their way.
Well,
Yeah, it's gonna come in loud.
we do have a caller. It's who? Ziggy? Oh, Vicky. Oh, okay. I got it. Vicky, how you doing, Vicky? Oh, we're doing okay. Are you catching gist of the show right now? Okay, so now tell us, Vicky. Now, Vicky is from Indiana. She's a big fan of Kaotic. Now, Vicky, tell us about something that you, had with the paranormal, like something like around your house, anything like that. Well, now, don't animals have a better perception of like spirits or what have you? Am I correct?
Cats, dogs, horses, birds.
Kind of like the
Iguana.
kid that I see dead people, right?
Yeah,
Something like that.
we have lots of dogs that bark at hallways. Cats that leap in the air.
So, Vicky, have you ever been like seen like maybe a figure like out of the corner of your eye? Have you ever heard something move in another room and there was nothing there? Okay, like what?
ghost cat.
And your cats are all like right there, all snuggled up with you, obviously, right? Okay. So now, Katie, what would you say, like an entity? What is that entity trying to do? Is it just kind of like being a goofball, kind of play games, or just?
That, that's kind of something that's going on with us right now as we go around and we give little lectures about really what is and is not paranormal. And because of the TV shows, every little moving bowl off the counter has everyone saying, oh my gosh, they're trying to kill us and stuff. When people pass away, within the first 2 years, we have found our experiences. They're kind of clumsy. They're not real good. They're they're out of their earthly shell. There's this big ball of energy. They cannot really control what they're trying to do. So it could be a loved one trying to get someone's attention, and they're hitting everything, and they can't make a connection, and they finally get that bowl, and it goes flying. That might be a possibility. It may be a stranger spirit that's wandered in the house that is trying to get the family's attention, and they have figured out, well, I'm able to do this,
Do you think it might be like sometimes it's children?
It could be children.
And someone that's trying to get attention?
Yes,
So, because people think that, paranormal, okay, now that they're thinking like poltergeist. I mean, there's a difference between an entity. If I phrase anything wrong, please, guys, that's what you're here for. You tell me about we talk about motorcycles, I will break everything down. If you say something wrong, I'm going to correct you. But if I say anything wrong, just let me know if I'm correct. So an entity and a poltergeist are two different things. Or what? How would you phrase it?
Yes. In our experience, poltergeist is kind of a misunderstood word. A lot of poltergeist activity actually comes from a living person who's bolting out their own personal energy. We've gone to homes where the living person is setting off our equipment. Teenage girls. You go in a house, there's teenage girls. An age where they have a lot of emotion, and it's a fluctuating, hormonal thing going. Any girl between 11 and 16 living in the house that's having an attitude issue. There's a lot of poltergeist activity in that house, so it may not be an actual spirit, and that's really hard to get through to some people. It's like, you don't have a ghost in your house, you have a daughter.
Really? So what? So glad I have boys. I didn't know that. I thought we only had to deal with
Boys can do it too if they get, that
It's
emotional
Does
wavy.
it? So you're saying it sets off waves, just into the atmosphere?
Yeah, it kind of bolts out of their personal self, and if they're angry, and something can slam, and they can be in the kitchen and they're making me clean, and suddenly the cupboard slams. It's their bolt of anger kind of coming out of them. And
Really?
yeah,
Which is kind of like they say, we only use a very small percent of our brain because we can actually move things. And I believe I've watched people move things because you use energy.
Now, when I say these words, it may sound like nonsense, but then in comes Diane with her equipment to measure what we think is going on, and looking for those natural and unnatural causes and stuff.
So now, Vicki, you don't have any young teenagers in your house, right? Okay. So then, if Vicki were to tell you, to sit, maybe you met at wherever, and she starts telling you this, what would you say to her?
I would ask her what else has been happening, how long have you lived there, who else has witnessed this, what time can we be there?
Oh, very good.
And then it becomes just like his investigation. You go in with your scientific side, and then you go in with your intuitive side. One's not better than the other, but together they're very good to get the whole complete picture. Because
Okay.
you can't have 5 psychics go into a place and say, I feel it's this, and leave, and they're done. There's no proof in that.
Well, I think like 5, I don't know, psychics or whatever would be counterintuitive, wouldn't it? Because
Yeah.
I mean, they're sensitive at different levels, or would
Yes.
that? Okay. So Albert, if Vicky were to say, you know, I mean, would you, and your part, would you be like, okay, well, it's a bowl that moved. You know, I'm not really. That's not really enough. Kind of like, you know, the boy's mom who was really freaked out, and obviously you talked to her before you went to the house, and she was obviously very out of sorts. So that's what triggered you to be like, wow, you know what, this is something I really want to investigate. Or would it be something like you meeting Vicky at, you know, a restaurant or something like that and having this conversation? Would that be something that, you know, can I set some, you know, instruments up and record this?
First thing I have to say is I don't jump to conclusions. Even people with mental disorders have paranormal experiences. So you don't know, just because you know they may have some issues, doesn't mean that they're not having an experience. Doesn't mean they're not. So you have to be very neutral. You know, one of the things is that we do is I look at every investigation as a needle in a haystack, and it's very challenging for the paranormal investigator and to narrow it down, because otherwise, when you show up, there might be a lot of things you don't know. You have to narrow it down to the time of day, maybe even the year, how many people were in the house. All kinds of things, especially with poltergeist kind of activity. Like she was mentioning, I think there was a popular movie that was made on the Bell Witch, where the little girl was being assaulted by her father, and that caused some kind of activity going on. So it's really important to try to narrow it down to a small window, which is very difficult. And even then, it's like a 1,000-piece puzzle, because you have to slowly start piecing the puzzle together to start seeing the picture. The last thing you want to do is to jump to conclusions and start putting in all kinds of personal experience. And what that does is it contaminates the actual results of the investigation. So I'm eager to run in and find a full form apparition moving around in a dress and talking to me and showing me their ID that I'm a ghost or whatever they have to do. I'm really into that, but that's my desire, and I have to keep that very separate from that. And I have to keep even maybe what the client is explaining to me separate, because I think, and over the last 2 decades or so, what I found, I've investigated some really exciting places, but what I found is that the data really speaks for itself. One of the lectures that I give is I don't come in and I don't use the word ghost or anything like that. I'll tell them, I'm going to show you some video, I'm going to play some audio, and I'm going to show you some stills, and you tell me what you think is happening. Because I think what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to establish a database that will stand the test of time. That will be, no matter if I'm here or not, 100 years from now, that data is data, and it is what it is. So that's the process I try to go through in all of my investigations. And this is the thing I have to say is I'm real skeptical. I'm an engineer scientist. I was training astronauts on a space station, so I'm really, really skeptical. But I was shocked at the amount of paranormal activity that my team was discovering and we're investigating. So the key is that something is going on, and if it's going on, we may as well investigate it and try to figure out what it is. That's really what motivates me.
All right, cool. Yeah. So Vicky, it sounds like you either have an angry cat, some hormones, even though they're next to you, they're pissed off because you didn't feed them, and that's what knocked the bowl off the counter. Or you have an entity that is just kind of having some fun with you. So great, that means you have company. As long as they're not, blood's not, coming through the roof and, weird stuff like that. And really, I think you're okay.
It's like it really matters what the client wants, what Vicky would want. So I've met people who says, I don't want it to leave. I just want to know who it is. So, it really matters what they want. Or some people are terrified and they want it to leave or to end. Right. So it really depends on what they want.
Well, anything I've ever encountered, and I still believe, like my father, which I wanted to bring this up on the second segment, I have his urn. And I believe my father's never left me. I still believe that my father's, is with me to protect me, to watch over me. I've always, been one of those things because I don't believe in heaven and I don't believe in a hell. I believe, and then people say, well, then where do you go when you die? You're still here. That's my thing. And you're there. You're here. You stay here to look over your loved ones. But I don't know. That you've got a loved one that you know, of yours that's still looking after you, Vicky. You know, I appreciate you calling on in, and I still need to get you. You need. I'm going to switch you over to Alina. Did you get the music from? Is she gone? Oh.
I'll take care of it.
All right.
Dematerialized.
Well, thanks for letting me know.
Is there really a Vicky?
Okay.
I did have a question for them. My father passed away in my, house I grew up in, and well, he didn't pass away there, but he had a heart attack there. But he passed away in the hospital, like maybe a few miles away. Do entities ever move back to their locations that they were comfortable with, that they grew up,
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Especially if that was your father's happy place.
Definitely.
They're gonna don't you want to believe that when it's all over, you're not stuck in the place where you were miserable and in pain, but you're going to be able to go to where you were happy and you have memories with your family.
Yeah. Okay.
They're
That makes
drawn
sense.
to that because
Okay.
there's an energy, You ever walk into a crowd and you kind of feel like someone here is
Yeah, because there's
a
been,
not nice person. I was going to say a word.
because there's been times
Had to call you out.
I've been in there and I've seen something or heard something or just felt something, and it's just like weird. I'm like, well, he didn't pass away in this house, but I can almost feel him there. It's
I
weird.
think what's interesting is everyone can relate to an interaction with living energy. You feel like you're being followed. You look over your shoulder, or you get in around a friend and you're like, I know they're down and I need to ask them what's going on with you, even though they're trying not to show it. We're picking up on living energy and we acknowledge that seems to be real. But when we pick up on deceased energy, everyone wants to, okay, yeah.
So, you see a friend and they say they're okay and they look okay. Is that really paranormal? Hold on. This is why it's stupid headphones.
We just had an Alino moment.
No.
It's not paranormal. My comparison is that we're picking up on living energy and we all buy into that. Hey, yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah, I've done that. Yeah. So we've all had that. So when we pick up into deceased energy, everybody says, well, maybe, well, not everybody. There are people that say, well, that can't be real. But you picking up into living energy, they carry that energy with them when they're deceased. So we feel them around us at certain times. They love celebrations, anniversaries, the anniversary date of their birthday, their death date. They come around strong. Anything like that. So, and by the way, I've been picking up this guy around you. So, yeah, I was going to get into that later on.
Well, see, that was my next one.
No, he's not.
Fucking ass. Oh god.
It's living energy, so it doesn't know if it goes under paranormal. No. But that would be a natural.
But
Yeah, that's just like we were around. We met Nora and Mike, Jack.
Yeah,
Nora,
like the energy around them was just really, really great. And
They-
you know that you can walk into a room and it feels really heavy,
yeah,
There you go.
and
That's-
you're picking up on
that's-
the energy.
yeah, that's what she's talking about. Because I mean, when we met them, I was like, wow. We were walking back to our room.
Yeah.
Of course. I said, you know what? This whole weekend was worth it just meeting those two because they gave off energy.
And you feel it.
Yeah,
and
which is
you
different.
don't even question it.
Right, it's different from paranormal energy. Now, what he was saying, and that I know there is more than one entity that follows me around.
Well, it's just that. If you're picking up on that, if you're pausing, if you're looking around and you know you're alone, you're picking up on that same energy they carried when they were living that we all don't question.
It's like a carryover from the
Yeah,
Now-
to the dead.
you retain your energy.
Now, why would you think? I mean, it's just been curious. I don't know what I've done. Am I like a medium? Do I have a medium sense about me or what have you?
You're pretty large.
That okay.
So you're dead inside.
So-
That's a good thing.
Okay, so Katie, okay,
I think she just has to take a
my
picture.
feel. So now, if I feel that there is entities around me, what is it? Is there something medium about me, or that attracts them? I mean, what?
There's a sensitivity level. Okay, there are people out there that'll say everyone's sensitive, but then Diane here will swear away from that. Like, no. You know, she will try, and although she won't admit it, but there's been a couple of times when she has picked up on stuff. So, but not often.
Not often.
She's like me, because I don't pick up on stuff, but I know they're there. I have a lot of friends that I'm with all the time, like you, and they'll tell me about everything going on. I'm like, wow, really?
Yeah, exactly.
But I can feel stuff. There's
Right.
everything that's a sense with us right now, whether you like respond more to hearing or to visual or to
Exactly.
just feeling. It's the same way with the psychic senses,
Right.
that you're going to be more inclined to like hear something just like in your mind, like somebody's talking to you.
And they call it a sixth sense. So, you
Mhm.
know, there's this ability to interact with the living and pick up on their vibes easily. And then there's people that walk around that don't seem to, we call them insensitive. They don't seem to get that they're in the wrong place to say these wrong things or whatever. Okay.
True that.
See,
But then when you get into mediumship, and as he was saying, the intuitives, they dig a little deeper than just the energy vibes. They might be getting full-on stories. They might be seeing ages and genders and events and stuff. So it goes a little deeper and wider for some
So
people.
basically the same thing. Like Albert, I get along with Albert. You know, I can you know, outside of, you know, this Robbie, the radio station, I can hang out with him. It's great. So, you know, it's just that you know, you know, the camaraderie feeling is right.
Well,
Yeah.
some people you're going to have chemistry with, and some people you're not.
Chemistry. That's
And it
another
could be energy too. It could be a mixture of the two. So I mean, I've been in situations where I just didn't vibe with the person. I couldn't figure it out. I thought it was something with my problem, or I was prejudging them, or what. It just didn't matter. It's just that's the way it is. And there's nothing wrong with noticing that energy and leaving it alone and moving on and walking away. Most people stay there and get drained from it, and that causes problems in both people's lives.
Right. My Padawan, and this, he sent me a text, and he says, tell them about when he played the drums. Okay, now my band practices at my shop. And so when you walk in the front door, if you walk past the entryway, to the left, there's my band practice. My drums are set up all the time. Me and Padawan were in the back working on a motorcycle. And then someone was playing the drums. Literally playing the drums. And so I'm like, oh, okay, you know, well, shoot, why does someone feel the need to come inside? It's like walking around and touching someone's motorcycle. Don't touch. You know what I mean? You can look at, wow, this is a nice bike. Okay, why do you have to touch it when you tell me when you're thinking it's nice? Why can't you just like look at it? This is a nice bike. So I go walking out there. As I'm walking out, the drums stop playing. By the time I get to the showroom,
Like they were actually playing a beat?
yeah, well, just kind of like ding, 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 ding. No, they
Oh,
weren't
wow.
playing a beat, but they were.
But still, that's
The drums
they're
are
playing
being
multiple
messed with.
things.
And my sticks, I have a stick bed on the side. the sticks weren't on the snare, nothing like that. So it wasn't like they could have fallen off and like made some noise. All my sticks are on a stick bag. Good call, Padawan.
Nice.
So, any answers for that one? Because we have got like 3 minutes. We got to take a break. But any answers for that one?
Could be a ghost.
Isolated situation, that's I have to come back to jumping to conclusions. One situation is interesting, but it won't tell you the story. And if you try to categorize it, the one thing you risk is being wrong. So I would document that, but there would be a lot of other stones I'd like to uncover to look under to see what's going on. That would help shape my understanding of the phenomena.
I would say somebody's just trying to get your attention. Like
well, you can't.
Saying, hey.
Well, see, we have the dinger ding ding, and
Wait,
if you walk into
that was you?
If you walk into my showroom, ding dong, bing,
He's just saying he's a better drummer than you.
right. So I mean, I'm not one to sit there and walk around and tell everybody, you know what I mean? Because I mean, I know I'm crazy, but I'm not nuts. So I don't really like go out and sit around and like all the. If we were sitting around having dinner, I wouldn't bring it up. You know what I'm saying? Now Katie might be like going, I sense something, you know. That'd be different.
Is that something that happened to you more than once? The drums?
That was only one time. It was when Padawan was there. So then that's when I told Padawan, I says, dude, see, now I'm not crazy. Now I know, because he was there.
Did he hear it too?
Yes, he did. We were both working on the motorcycle.
That helps that you have two people that heard the audio.
Yeah, that's why I looked at him. I'm like, oh man, why in the hell is someone messing with my drums? And I didn't even think about the door dingy thing going off.
No,
I just walked. No, just me and him. And I walked out there to be like, oh, hello, can I help you? Can you stay off my fucking drums? And
so you're getting a list of stories, because this isn't the only story that's happened at this place.
Yes.
You're getting a whole list. So yeah, you're just getting revalidated. This becomes a long list of strange things going on there.
But I mean, to me, it's not strange. It doesn't bother me. You know what I mean? I accept things. I mean, I've always been like since I was a child. I know I don't. Because I didn't walk around seeing dead people, but I don't know. It's not like I have the sense of things like you were talking about, Katie. That you can walk in a room, you can feel entities about you. I don't have that. That's why when I walked in the house with the boy's mom, I walked in and I don't know what are you talking about, but it's something really freaked her out. So, but anyways, we're gonna take a little bit of a break. We're going to come back, and then we'll be back with Albert Taylor. We're going to come back with Diane and Katie, correct? We're going to talk a little bit about Albert Taylor's book. It's called Soul Traveler. It's a guide to out-of-body experiences and the ones beyond. #1 bestseller. So anyways, we'll be back with the Zig Zone. Stick around for the Paranormal Show. We'll be back in 2 and 2.
That was a good choice of music. Look at it. See those?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I had somebody hit one of the cymbals when I was sitting in my living room where the drums are. And there was just a ting on a cymbal, and I was talking to my psychic friend.
I've heard that many times.
She was just like...
I did Dead Silent Studio, and I heard that.
Yeah.
In my garage.
I thought maybe like a bug crawled up on the ceiling and then fell on it.
Do you want to hear about the guy that's hanging around you?
Yes, I'm interested about this.
Wait, should we do it on the air though?
We could do it on the air, yeah.
Okay, well, I was going to tell you right now. How many minutes do we have a break here?
About 3 minutes.
Actually, before we started, I saw something up there in that corner.
Did ya?
Uh-huh.
Well, I don't want to hog up
like
airtime on the psychic side a whole lot and do readings and stuff. So I just wanted to check in with you really fast. This person would be to the side of you, meaning they're the same age. They'd be like a brother or a friend that you think of as a brother, or a cousin that you think of as a brother. And they're saying that there's a connection. Either their name has a C and a real strong C.
You guys aren't mad that I'm being a sport ass, are you?
No.
No.
Loving it.
Fuck you.
Yeah, no.
Right.
Let me say, she's talking to Scott.
Either his name
think
has
that's
a
Scott.
strong C in it, like Charlie, Charles kind of a thing, or the person that can help you figure out who this person is has a strong C. So you would have a living connection to a person with a strong C. It would be Carl, Charlie.
to think about that.
Okay.
That's strange.
So they're coming in really strong, and they're like, I don't think they're related like a brother, but they're like, bro, you know.
Yeah, because I only have one brother, and
Okay.
he's still living.
No, okay, so this is like a person. And the unfortunate thing about this is and you know, this sure gives me an out, they can be anywhere from, let's say, age 10 to now, that kind of a thing. So we always think of in recent times and stuff, but they died young, and their passing was sudden, and for some reason they're showing me a lot of trees. I don't know if they like hit a tree, or the trees would be the connection that you would go,
Only person I know that died like in a tree is a buddy of mine that I worked with like several years ago, but I didn't know him that well.
No, this guy is like,
He was a buddy, he was a friend. I worked with him as a colleague, like when I was doing real estate, and he died. He got in a car accident, but his car ran into a tree.
Does he have a C in his name anywhere? A
I
strong
gotta
C?
remember his name. That's what's drug.
Or-
David was his name.
Okay, now what about his last name? Any kind of a C? Cook or anything? And if not, do
Could be
you have
middle
a
name, too.
mutual
Is it?
friend
Can I
that
get
has
some water?
a strong C? Someone you
Can I
both
get some water?
I have to
knew.
think about that.
Okay. For some reason, you know, and it may be him. And
Because I knew him, and he was like one of the manager guys that was.
but you wouldn't think it would be well enough for him to come through and say, I'm hanging around you. Because he's like,
I don't know. No,
he
that's
feels like hanging around you.
he got really close to me is before, because
He's
the
saying
music
that
thing, he was.
he's saying that you were like in maybe like
Cup
a
is fine,
bathroom looking
anything.
in the
Yeah,
mirror
just
and
wet
you
my
kind of
whistle.
sense something was behind you. Does this sound? This is going to be real recent, like you were.
No, there's nothing like that.
That's all right. I'm not spoiled. I drink out of the hose
Sit
when
on
I'm
that.
Recent?
And I'm not always right. Okay, there's
Yep, and we live.
impressions I get that are not
Water's
good
almost
enough
away.
to make a
I have a
decision
filter
on.
on.
You know.
Yeah, no, understandable.
So just he's insisting this, like looking,
All right, 3 minutes here and 1 second.
feeling like something was behind you.
I think that was me.
No, not you, smartass.
There, it was her. It
I
was
was
her.
being serious.
She's like
just
tripping
I saw
on me, like
though.
saying that there's somebody trying to get a hold of me.
I've never seen anything here.
Yeah, it's me like sending you.
Not you, smartass.
Careful, there's 3 of them still full.
Oh shit.
See, there's a reason I came here. Oh no, you gotta.
There's a reason
The
you
girl that
came
I'm
here.
seeing right now, she's gonna call in the next show. She's into all that paranormal. She has a meter. She has all that stuff.
You guys,
Oh,
And
cool.
she
you guys,
wants
you
to
guys
talk
won't get
about
mad
it.
that I'm gonna come back with garbage, right?
Garbage?
The band.
I've done a lot of
Oh yeah,
Never heard of them.
they're like kind of 90s
Hey,
pop,
I'm into
electronic
Bruce
rock.
and whatever's out of the 70s.
That would be me.
That'll be me as well.
No, you're in the 60s.
60s. Oh.
Hey, 67, man. Okay,
Yeah, that's-
I'm not a 60s.
Really?
man.
You're a
But
60s
in the
boy.
70s.
I got all you guys.
I will be a
Well, yeah, that's true. You grew up in
I
the
got all you
70s.
guys beat.
Same as me.
Yeah, I'm 40s. Okay, that's right.
No, I'm not quite there.
Yeah, that's very
Not
interesting.
quite that long.
You know,
Go,
if,
little
if
boy,
you
'cause-
find
hold
out
on.
if anything
A
makes
minute
a
now.
connection, let him know, and he can let me know through Facebook
Sure.
because
Oh wait, hold on.
Oh no, for
it,
sure.
it helps
Wait,
me
yours?
if people say,
It
I figured
doesn't
it
matter.
out.
No, hold on. I love fucking Candace is like, what the fuck? You guys are idiots. I'm like, yeah, I
Who's
know.
Candace?
My best friend. One of my best friends. Alright, get in.
You love her?
You wish.
Do I?
Right. How would he wish about that?
Good point.
Never mind.
Where's Vegeta? Get in.
I thought you were
There he
doing
is. Go.
All
Cheers.
All right. Cheers.
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to rock and roll.
As
Here we
always.
go.
Damn.
No mas.
Shit. Fucking goddamn. Sorry.
This stuff is strong.
Yes.
So did you guys get that figured out?
So some of it, but it just
Oh,
doesn't
yeah,
feel like
sure.
a tight enough connection.
It wasn't quite
So
ringing a bell
He's
to
gonna
start.
he's gonna give it some
Ringing
more
a bell.
thought,
And there's, I mean,
and
the
see,
problem is I have
he'll
a
wake
lot
up
of
at 2
friends.
tonight.
Yeah.
It'll
Right.
come, yeah.
Having different friends and so many different people that I meet, it's really hard, and I'm horrible with names. That's one problem. It's like I meet a lot of people. Being a musician, it's like I literally have like thousands of friends, and it's hard to remember people's names. And I mean, you can attest to this. It's hard. Do you remember everybody's name? Are you in a zone?
From close friends?
Anybody?
Yes.
I want to sit quiet.
They're on music.
Just checking.
Fuck off. This guy. Who's the captain of this ship? Just kidding. Okay, so we left off with no, I don't. I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. You know why? It's called the Zig Zone. I can always push a button and be muted. See, I told you the wife thing. So going back to what I was saying, I think that there's, I feel that there's people that follow me. I've been in the motorcycle world. I've seen, witnessed, and have had a lot of good friends die. Which is one of the reasons why I maintain being a motorcycle safety instructor, because if I have 24 students a weekend. If I save one life, I've done very well.
Yeah, I've been to too many funerals too.
You see what I'm saying, brother? Yeah, because you're part of the motorcycle, community. And it takes its toll on you. But I don't have a reason, because obviously it's not like I'm having a conversation with them. But do you feel, Katie, that maybe some of these brothers of mine, because the reason I call them brothers, I don't know if you're familiar with the whole motorcycle community. Al is my brother. He rides a motorcycle. It's a motorcycle family. Obviously, I don't ride, like I do with a lot of my brothers that have died with Al. But I feel that
Have you been
that
riding your motorcycle?
Do you feel maybe that because I was maybe I was a captain, or maybe I was just that person in with all my brother riders, I've always felt that the need to help my fellow riders, even before I became an instructor, ride a motorcycle. I've showed many people ride a motorcycle. I've never been in an accident. I've had my F-ups, trying to keep it clean. But, do you think that maybe, that person or persons, are maybe following me around because that's, I still ride? Because sometimes I feel the presence a lot of time when I'm riding. And I've had so many close calls. I mean, I've gone where I've almost gone off a cliff. And something, it just beyond me. I know how a motorcycle works. I know what traction is. And I know what braking is. I know what speed is. And for some reason, I knew that I should have crashed at that moment. But I just had this feeling that somebody was there that just, looking out for me.
That's
which
guardian
was
angel.
the guardian angel.
Yeah.
Is our experience There's no, you know, I can't say yes and no. There's no black and white in the paranormal. There are rules and there's always the exceptions. So it is our experience that when people pass away, especially from a sudden impact or something, they're the ones that are going to be more likely to linger around and make their presence known in some form or fashion for our first couple of years after passing, mostly during the first couple of years after passing. If you feel people around you, I'm always going to begin with the concept that they knew you personally. They're not going to be so much strangers, but they felt a connection to you. They may have attended one of your classes or something, you know, and not to put that down, and because that's kind of a horrible connection. But it's not usually going to be a stranger connecting around you or watching over you or something. There's going to be some emotional connection during the living time for them that they feel compelled to be around you. So, yeah, I get the brother thing with the motorcycles and everything, but it's not going to be a complete stranger. And again, I'm talking from the usual standpoint. There's always going to be that exception. But these people, if you feel them around you and you think it's connected, a fellow motorcycle rider or something like that, I'm first going to lean towards the fact that if you could see them, you'd say, oh, I remember that dude, you know. So
now, I've never seen anybody do like they always go into houses. You know, I've never seen them do anything in motion. You know, it's always they walk into a house and they go into different rooms, give different feeling, ambiance, whatever terminology you want to use. Have you ever done it? The sensing on a moving vehicle. That's what I'm like. Say, okay, let's go.
Now you're talking about different sensitivities of instruments.
Hang on a second. Okay. I'm going to protect myself first. I have a girlfriend, and I'm going to say something that might be like, oh, well, why you got to ask her for a ride? If I were to take you on a ride, do you think that would be you could sense the same? Because I feel that, you know, I have guardian angels. I feel that some of my past brothers and sisters are watching over me. I've had close calls, and I just have never had that moment where I knew I should have died. But when that scenario happened, I knew I should have been off that cliff, and someone would have been, you know, the coroner would have been, you know, coming to retrieve me. Do you think you would be able to sense that?
if you and I sat in this room and then we moved to your home and then we moved to a restaurant and we moved to inside of a moving vehicle, I'm still going to be feeding off of your energy and the energy around you. So if you keep changing locations, the energy around you is going to be stronger at one location and weaker at another location. So I'm going to pick up more here and less there on, you know. When it comes to spirits and stuff, a lot of them like the land, like the house, like the building. They like to be left alone. That's why we're always inside buildings, because they take over the closet in this house or whatever, you know.
They just go to their happy place.
That's their happy place, and the people that move in are a little.
Yeah, and it's always a closet.
Yeah, they love closets.
They love to hide in the closet.
Oh, wow.
They want to be left alone, mostly.
Because I had an experience at my house that actually involved a closet door. And
Yeah.
I didn't understand. It was just an isolated incident.
That was you just coming out of the closet.
Diane and I went to Gettysburg for a paranormal conference in March, beginning of April, and so there was about 5 or 6 of us standing out at the famous Sachs Bridge at night, where both the Confederate and the Union had taken over this bridge at different times, and so it was kind of too noisy at the bridge because of the river, so we went a few feet away and we're looking into the woods, and we're thinking, oh, cool woods. And all of us started seeing outside, out of buildings, shadows of soldiers. It was the most incredible thing. It had to be there. shadows of soldiers moving back and forth.
So now, Diane, because you're just like Al, you're the person that's going to be the skeptic, but still wants to be the devil's advocate.
But still wants to have that full body apparition experience.
But you don't have that. See, like Albert doesn't have not the sensory thing that Katie has.
Correct.
Right. But yet you see this.
Yes.
Okay.
And she doubts it. I mean, she starts, okay, I'm seeing this, but could it be a wolf or is the moonlight?
Where are the bushes located? And let me measure to see how far out. And could there be a shadow? And let me time it, because there could be 30 seconds in between each one. And now it starts becoming natural instead of paranormal.
Yeah, a ghost literally is going to have to show up full apparition and shake her for her to not scientific it away,
Actually, for that personality type, the ghost itself, it's going to come to you as just a clear knowing of something. So it's like, this happens, I know it was like some particular thing, and then you can just take it from there. Because it's not always a seeing or a hearing or even a feeling.
What's really interesting is we go into clients' houses and all the other team members say, we're setting up and getting ready, and everyone else says, I just saw a child spirit go across the top. It's like, why not me? I don't see. But the day I do, we still get startled. I'll probably be like, oh crap, so.
Albert, have you ever had someone like my deal with being on a motorcycle? Have you ever done anything like that?
I can tell you this, and I mentioned it in my book. I was 17 years old. I started riding a motorcycle when I was 15, by the way. Long time, 42 years now, I think.
Nice.
And I'm like Zay, I haven't had an accident. I was sitting I remember I was in a hurry. I was on a 504 Honda. And I was sitting at the light, just gotten off of the freeway. And this was long before I started investigating paranormal. I was just 17 then. And I remember the light changing, and I was about to take off through the light, and I heard a voice say, wait, don't go. And I was there by myself at that light, and I looked around, and I didn't see anything, but by the time I looked around, a car ran the red light, and I would have been in the intersection at the time that the car ran the red light, and I would have been hit. But that voice, I never forgot it. Something said to me out loud over the motorcycle noise, and that we didn't wear a helmet, but something actually said, wait, don't go. I had no idea. One of the things that in my life is I have to wear two hats. One hat is that of an experiencer. That's what my book is about. It's my diary, really. And the other hat is a scientific investigator. And it wasn't until later on, when I became a scientific investigator, that I started remembering the stories, or remember what happened to me, and start putting that together. So yes, I definitely had one, and that's something that led me to start investigating, doing what I do, was the actual experiences I've been having since I was.
But
wait, don't go.
So how?
Wait, don't go.
She's got a cornball.
Go to commercial.
So Albert, but back to my question. If I were to say, do you think if I were to say, hey, mount a camera, or what was it that picks up the electromagnetic
field meter?
Okay. Mount it to my motorcycle and see if you can pick something up while I'm riding.
Remember the needle in the haystack thing I mentioned? It's important to narrow that window of when the anomaly or paranormal episode happens. Following you around on a motorcycle randomly, that lessens the chance of us actually getting something happening.
What if you put me in a car and I run red lights everywhere?
That increases.
It might be. You might have a near-death experience. Now, it's really important because I've done so many investigations and got nothing. And it's really important to try to narrow it down because you can make a million trips there and you miss the one thing, the one clue that's going on. Maybe it happens after midnight on the 4th of June, or when the moon is full or something. It's really important to get as many clues as possible because it's difficult enough to gather paranormal information, data. But it's even more difficult if you use the shotgun effect and just go out and randomly try to find it. So I would ask you a bunch of questions to try and narrow it down, and even then we may not find anything.
True.
And
Now,
there's natural things that set off the EMF meter. So if you're riding around and it's going off, I mean, there's just so many natural
Your spark plug, your electrical system.
okay, I got
electrical
I gotcha.
wiring over in the high wire system and stuff. And
But that that in itself to me is not enough. I have an EVP, electronic voice phenomena. It's when you record subtle energies and voices. I have one that I actually hear something reply to a question like, "What is your name?" and it answers, and the EMF meter went off at the same time. See, so something like that leans better into paranormal data than any one individual thing. So the more things that you collect that can back up the phenomenon, the better.
Interesting. So now I get the whole moving thing. Now let's just say, I couldn't use that either. I couldn't say if you were like in a stationary area and then me come like at the racetrack.
A telephone pole, you can get an EMF spike.
Right.
I mean, there's so many things. That's when I did this one investigation. I've done a lot of succubus kind of investigations, if you know what that is. That's where a person is being attacked. One of the things is I do a grid of the entire area, and then we walk around the grid and document all the different types of EMF spikes that we get, electrical spikes. When we document it, we write it down on the map. And then what we do is after we know that, then we know if I move over here, I'm going to get something from that telephone pole outside. So then we start looking for the areas that we don't have one, and that's the ones that we want to get something. Plus, not just something stationary, like I mentioned before, something moving around, because that's something that we can't explain. I can't explain why I'm getting an electrical a meter reading and it's not stationary and it's actually moving from room to room or up and down.
Okay, gotcha. We do have a caller, and caller, welcome to the Zig Zone. We are at the Paranormal Show, and you are?
I'm Tiffany.
Hi, Tiffany. How are you doing today?
Doing all right.
Or I should say tonight. I should say tonight.
Good.
Okay, so Tiffany, so since it's the Paranormal Show, what kind of question there do you have for our guests?
Well, I've been involved in kind of paranormal investigating for about 2 years. I got into it because I wanted to verify my experiences and my sensitivity. Since I was a kid, I would hear like voices, and this is just like random chatter, and this is going while I'm going to sleep. I would hear like useless chatter. And then sometimes it would scream a name, sometimes it would just be random. But occasionally I'll just go into like just hearing things. I thought I was crazy. And then I would start to feel emotions and in different areas, random areas, and then I would want verification of maybe I'm feeling something else, energy in that area. So I started to get involved in that paranormal.
And okay, and so like Katie, that's here in the studio. Do you deal with people like? Do people come to you and ask you if there's anything in their house or around them?
I don't usually advertise that I know something, but I can tell or I can feel something in certain areas. If something bad is on there or has gone on over there, or yeah, I can just feel it.
Okay, and you felt this at a young age, obviously, yeah. Okay, so I mean, do your friends come to you and just like, hey, I'm feeling this, energy about me, or things are not right around my house?
Occasionally I've had some friends to ask me what do you think's happening here, and I told them a little bit about maybe what has happened in their old house. And sometimes, I don't know, sometimes they can verify
Right on. Have you heard of Albert Taylor, who's in the studio tonight? And have you seen his book, Soul Traveler?
No, but he did talk about an experience. I had the same exact experience where I'm at a light and I'm right there. I'm usually the first one off the light, like I'm going to be a NASCAR superstar. And,
Yeah.
and something told me not to go, and I didn't go. And sure enough, like somebody ran it. And, I also
NASCAR, stupid.
I could share with you too. My ex, he used to ride motorcycles and take off to work every day, just about every day. And then one morning I heard like in my head this motorcycle accident or motorcycle like don't go. And I told him I'm like, hey, don't go or don't take the motorcycle. But he thought I was crazy. Hence he's the ex. And sure enough, he goes to work, and then like he's kind of weary because he's like freaked out that I even said anything about the motorcycle. And he rides real slow, probably slower than he would normally ride. And he gets like a total flat tire, and the bike goes down. He's like stuck. He calls me and he says, "I think you cursed me."
You know what?
Of course he blames you.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned that, because here's one of the things that I, as a motorcyclist, say I plan to ride. You know, I say I'm going to the motorcycle training, and it's Friday night. I'm like, okay. I got all my stuff, my gear's all ready to go. Because if I take my truck, I have to gear up differently than if I take my motorcycle. And I wake up that Saturday morning and something is telling me, do not ride. I have this weird, just weird feeling that I shouldn't be riding that motorcycle. I mean, Albert, I'm sure you, as a rider, you have had that feeling.
Definitely.
Or, you know something that, for JJ, you same thing.
Yep, exactly.
So, I mean, so obviously something was channeling through you to tell him. Now, Katie, a very good question for you. So, what was your boyfriend's name? Or was your ex? I'm sorry. Oh, okay. So Mitch. So now, say Mitch was not just like all in this intuitive kind of guy, you know, that didn't want to, like just all this is paranormal is bullshit, you know. So this entity was channeling through her to Mitch.
It may not be a person. It may not be an entity. It's so hard to explain.
That could be his energy, like what you were saying before.
Yes. There's different forms of energy, and she's tuning into, and she may be what's known as a predictive sensitive, which are the people kind of see into the future. So it's not necessarily a person showing up and saying, tell him to not do that. She's picking up on a negative energy in his future, and she's trying to, tell him the best way. We don't always understand what the heck is going on. Why am I feeling this way? And so she's, struggling with, I've got this information, but she feels so strongly about it that she needs to speak up and say something and stuff. So it may not be a ghost telling her or a person telling her, but she's picking up on some sort of energy wave, and that goes into quantum physics, which
that's my area.
Is it?
Which would be his, because people don't realize that JJ does have the best-selling book. It's Dave Birch.
Well, it's not best-selling, but
it's go ahead and plug it real quick.
Oh, Grand Slam Theory of the Omniverse.
Oh, there you go.
But what I was thinking in this case was the flat tire was actually an echo of what you were saying to him. You were trying to get him to stop, so was the flat tire. So whatever was going to happen was prevented that day.
And then you get into the poltergeist activity. Could she have projected her own energy into that tire and flattened it? Like, he's not listening to me.
Oh.
I'm gonna stop this guy,
That's karma.
Well, you know what? Thank you for calling in. That was very awesome. I'm glad you brought that up, because it went right back to what I was saying. I mean, did somebody channel it to you? So yeah, okay. So there's an answer. You know, it can go in different directions. So, but thank you for calling, and we appreciate you listening to Zig Zone on chaoticradio.com.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys.
All right, we'll see you later. We have Antonio. Did you say on the phone? Antonio, you are live on the Zig Zone. Antonio, we hear you. I know it's open.
There he is.
Hey, what's up? There you are.
What's up, brother? Hey, man, I remember, I don't know, we were talking right now. One day, Dylan, so my grandfather passed away, and while we walked in the door, we felt someone touch his ear, right? So it's kind of loud, kind of loud. The grandfather messing with him, and so anyway, we're sitting down, we're all talking, whatever, and he had a drink. He went to grab it, and just before he even grabbed it, just fell off the table. And so we laughed at him with yeah, you know, you probably knocked it over, but he was like, I didn't touch it. I didn't even get to grab it. So then my grandfather, go ahead and say jokes, always messed around with me and stuff like that. So we always said that he messed around with Dylan when he walked into the house.
This is Aunt. This is my girlfriend's or my girlfriend. Oh shit.
Oh, you're.
No. Oh my God! This is my son's girlfriend's dad. Okay.
Oh. I whacked myself.
Okay. So yeah. So obviously, then there you go. So that's what I'm saying. There's someone protecting my son. Right.
Yep. Guardian angel again.
You know, that's what I was talking about. There's for some reason, even my son. Did Dylan tell you that he like completely slid out on the 10 West, the Etowah exit? Okay. Now I'm going to tell you guys this story. You know, we went through Crest. Both my boys had an incident that day. Both of them were coming back from the Nino's house. Drake's was he went into a corner. We were in Angeles Crest. We're on Angeles Forest Highway. He went into a corner way too high, and it was a decreasing radius blind curve. And something straightened his bike up because he was going way too high. He was going to be coming, you know, in the oncoming traffic. Straightened his bike up, went into the turnout. There just happened to be a turnout there. Thank God. As a car went by, and then he ended up on the sand embankment or the dirt embankment when they make the turnouts. On the other side of that turn embankment that he actually stopped on was a 60-foot drop. Then later on, as we're only a mile from the house, and of course, you know, it's the whole adrenaline thing. I mean, boys. And my son is exiting. We're exiting the Etowah exit from the 10 East, and he leans his bike over and he dumps it. Now, mind you, nothing happened to my other son's bike. And then Dylan, I'm watching him do this, and as he goes down, as he slides down, he slides, and it only slides, and he just had his bike painted, everything, all his goodies on his bike. Slides his bike, and it just levels on his frame slider and the tire, and there's not a scratch on his motorcycle.
Sweet.
Yay!
Yay.
Right?
So you never know if that's luck, a guardian angel, did a spirit help him out? I mean, these momentary things like that, whatever makes you feel good, buy into, because you don't have any way to measure that moment, like Albert was saying, you know.
Yeah, we could put meaning into those things.
Exactly.
Well, but my thing is, it's like, you know,
Luck.
with you know, when I always feel when I write, I always feel that there's someone looking over me.
Well,
I mean, whether it be something I believe,
right,
or that's something that's fact, but how can both my boys have an instant where they can be seriously injured and they're riding with me and they don't get injured?
Well, going back to what he said about the glass flying off the table and everything like that, right after a grandfather passed away, that is something that happens so often when people pass away. We hear those kinds of stories so often. Those are almost measurable.
And that's because and we know boys don't make their beds like that.
No.
Okay, so I'm going back. You know, I've you know, my son and aunt's daughter, they've been together since they were in 7th grade, and they're still in a relationship today. A strong relationship. They love each other. You know, us as parents really backed the relationship up. And Dylan spends a lot of time there. And when I go there, the grandfather he's talking about has been there. So it's obviously it's a focal point, right, of where you were talking about earlier, where he enjoys this area, and obviously he has a great relationship with his grandson, and so enhance on that.
Well, that's what Diane was talking about. You know, where are you gonna go when you pass away? I'm going to Disneyland. Okay, so the poor people that are riding the rides there that day, I'll be joining them and they'll be freaking out. But yeah, emotion is a energy in itself. I mean, you know, rage or love are huge energy of feelings and stuff. And so when people are passing away, it's why Diane was talking about making the reconnections, going back to what's familiar, going back to where they either felt extreme love or extreme connection, extreme devotion. They also go back to places where they think they have unfinished business, you know.
And obviously a connection with somebody, which Dylan, my son, spends a lot of time at Aunt's house, and had a connection with him, is looking out for him.
Those individual incidences where someone's almost wrecking on a motorcycle and stuff, and it stopped short of here or straightened up unnaturally. Talk to the rider. If you say, wow, good save, and they say, I didn't do that, then the wheels start clicking, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Because you've seen them look at you like, well, I didn't do that, you know, but yet the bike did do something.
Right. But in Ant's case, it's basically, you know, the grandfather just, you know, coming back and just, you know, this is a place that I love. I have a lot of, you know, great memories here, and I need to look after.
Well, yeah, and if that's the patriarch of the family, they're going to be protective. And there's the belief that you have spirits that are loved ones, that they're there to protect, and you can't make them leave. Because their intent is to look over and care for their family.
All right.
And that's true. Like some people, when they pass over, there's some spirits that still have attachments to the living, so they're still basically stuck. And there's others that transcend and they come back as that guardian type that she's describing.
Exactly.
They're not really come back, they're just always there.
I just went to a whole class on that last Thursday. They were talking about Earthbound, and that was the title of those that refuse to move on.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're talking about those that do move on, transition, go to the next journey, whatever they label that as, can still interact, send messages, watch over, what have you, and stuff. So there's this gray area of, you know, what happens life after death and etc. And we call it life after death. They're very active and very much watching over, and so they're not in their earthly shell, but they seem to still want to interact in certain ways.
Right. So, well, there you go, Aunt. So that means, you know, you've kept a close knit family. You know, I mean, every time I'm there, I know everyone just enjoys each other's company, and so that's why the the family does not leave. So, thanks for calling in, Aunt. Appreciate that. But Jay, I'm gonna give you a chance to ask a question because I got 1,000. Tonight's not enough. I'm telling you, it's
Every
not
time
enough.
you give me the chance to ask a question, I hit the wall. I'm like,
Well,
okay.
then
Oh, now I can't think of what I was going to ask.
That's the story of your love life.
Pretty much. But, yeah, I mean, there's like several situations where I would love to check out, but it always seems like isolated situations. If I was going to ask something, I would just ask for like what kind of energy you read like from me and around me. Because like I know a lot of stuff, but I don't want to bias you.
Usually, if there's a lot of other energy around at the moment, unless someone shouts louder and stronger, like his friend did earlier, then this is not a good setting.
Mm-hmm.
I'll stick it on the background and try and read if something comes up and let you know and stuff. I was going to tell you something earlier. We did a case, we were talking about, did someone die in your home and does California have to disclose it to you? We just did a house in Redlands. They handed them the keys and said, by the way, someone died here and it wasn't so good. It was about 3 years ago. And now the husband's ready to move into the brand new house. Well, the house that they've just gotten. And the wife's like, I don't want to move in if someone died there. So they had us come on over as they're moving in.
Not before they moved in. Like,
No,
okay,
but-
just kind of go about through this house. Give me an
Wait, hold
idea.
on.
They have
I
the
did
keys.
say that earlier. They have to disclose if somebody died.
Yeah.
within
I'm
5
not-
years.
I'm not-
No,
And it-
they don't.
Yes, they do. It's actually a California
But
law.
it's-
No, they
And
don't.
there's only a time frame too. So if
And-
they passed away,
Within a 5-year time frame.
And
Right.
it has to be a violent death. So if someone just goes, in the living room and it's not violent, they don't have
I
to.
didn't realize
Actually,
that.
That's what I
didn't
thought.
either.
Actually, no. Hold on. I'll get on. As an insurance agent, there is things you have to say.
Well,
Within that 5-year period, though, not.
She
So-
said 3 years.
3 to 5 years, but this is what the real estate agent told them. We didn't have to tell you while you looked at the home because it wasn't a violent death, as in a gun, burglary, murder, intrusion, disgruntled.
Right. And here's the thing, Lena. We're not trying to put Katie on the spot. It's
No,
not-
we're not.
No,
But
but
there's
hey, slow down, Turbo. Okay.
Wow, now you're making me laugh.
What she's doing is these people requested that she go in the house because they just feel that there's an energy that's not right in this house. That's where Katie comes in.
It has to
The only other thing, well, we can talk to Albert about the other thing.
It did have
You
to
know,
be a
but-
violent murder because I was in real estate for a while.
Thank you.
Yes, it has to be a violent action, or something that was like either murder or something that was.
But we're not trying to get into the
Violence.
whole legality of things. We're talking about people walking into a home
Yeah,
Yeah.
and feel. I've
and
walked
ghosts
in.
can move, and we just discussed this. Ghosts could fucking move.
Yeah.
So
They
I-
will.
it doesn't matter where they're at when they die. It's like they can move.
Mhm.
No, I've walked into a home and just did not feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Now whether it be the people that were around me, I'm a very sociable person. I talk to everybody, but I've walked into homes and I was still social with everybody, but I still felt uncomfortable.
That could be living energy. I mean, you may be really good at picking up that there's a jerk in the room, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Or older living energy. Maybe they had a heated argument that morning and it's just the vibes are lingering and most people walk in and like, hey, but you walk in and holy crap, what happened here?
Right.
So that's it's not always paranormal, but again, that's when Albert was talking. you start with your base story, which is it feels awful in this room, and then you begin to break it down, put your 1,000-piece puzzle together, leaning, is it paranormal or not paranormal? And you have to have a real rational approach, because there are people out there that want everything to be paranormal.
Right.
Wait, we walked about?
The walkabout.
And the walkabout.
In California.
Yeah, other states don't do that.
3. See?
Yes.
They don't do the walkabout.
Roundabout.
And the walkabout.
A material defect.
So you know what?
Ah,
So
Oh,
you're
it's
sure
okay.
that's a
4
lot of gray area.
Yeah, it is.
She's cheating. She's looking to shut
Well,
up
come on,
online
let's get through the legalities, because this is a show about paranormal, not about legalities, about fucking real estate.
Thank you.
But she's right.
If you haven't heard of it, then you don't know about it. And so
That's
this
not why we call it Jonestown.
yeah. There's an AIDS call.
Oh, so if somebody dies of AIDS,
Okay, well, you know what? Hang on, guys. This is not a fucking, one legality bullshit show. Okay, no. What I'm gonna say right now is Katie. What I'm saying right now is Katie was right. So I'm gonna go on my guest. Okay, and we're gonna move the fuck on from this goddamn legality bullshit real estate conversation.
So my best advice is, if you're buying a house and you don't want to go,
Call Katie.
And you don't want to go, say, did anyone die in this house over the last 20 years? I don't want this 3-year clause, because so many people move in and they say, we were attracted to the home, and guess what?
Yep. Well, you have a right to a
Goes
home
there.
inspection, just like any other kind of inspection. You can do a geotechnical inspection
Right.
and call me, and you can do
guys.
that. Yeah, they will.
Can we knock off the goddamn inspection bullshit? Okay.
We're talking about paranormal.
If I walk into a house and I feel uncomfortable, okay, very good. Well, good. We just blew 4 fucking minutes. Okay.
Legality bullshit.
Okay, so anyways, now if I walk into a home and I feel something, just like the boy's mom walked into that house and she felt something, she was just tripping. Okay, obviously you're gonna call somebody.
Right.
Like Katie, Diane.
But don't you get a lot of people that tell you,
And
I
Albert.
never expected to call someone like you?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they say that so often.
Matter of fact, people have said, I've investigated a church in this area, a school, a very large Catholic school. And one of the things that they didn't want me to tell anybody about what was going on there. It was a case where and you may have heard the story, but I won't mention the name. One of the basketball stars of the school died, and he was being seen in the gym. So the last thing they wanted me to do, is mention the school and what was going on. So sometimes, confidentiality, that's definitely a part of it. Yeah, there was a lot of reports from students and things like that. I don't know what's going on. Yeah. I'm not going to say that if it's specific, because I was not to say anything. I was promised I would.
He said he's not going to say.
Well, it's kind of ironic to me.
Yeah, right.
It's kind of ironic to me that the Catholic Church would be like, hey, we need reach out and be like, hey, check this out.
Oh, that's never.
And then to
I have major home improvement store, major one, reach out, and they wanted it to be confidential. So it's not like it hasn't happened before. The thing is if something's happening and you can't explain it, you want it to end, especially an educational institution. So they had, because of word of mouth and whatever other ways that they knew about us, they just wanted to stop, and they didn't want the publicity. But because it didn't stop and it was happening without, whether they believed or not, they wanted someone to come in and at least tell them that what was going on and if you could do anything about it.
So which brings it back to the church, which we started with. They of course they wouldn't want to bring someone like
it goes against their
you
doctrine.
in. Yeah, exactly.
They don't want to
And
scare people up.
well, hey, I'm just telling you that if you're like going, hey, we just took we were filming, a couple of priests walk up and there was like 3 children following them. They don't want that.
Right.
They don't want that.
Heaven, hell, purgatory. That's
right.
It.
And just out of curiosity, you don't have to mention any names like that. Have you ever been in a situation where someone from a church, because I would think that church would have to be a very big thing in this, had asked you like, hey, we need you to come in here. There's something not right here.
Yes, we have been to lots of places that, like you talked about, confidentiality. It's kind of a double-edged sword. It's all over TV. It's by the way, that's entertainment. That's not really how it goes. They amp it up, or you wouldn't watch. But because of the stigma on there, so you have this side that doesn't want it publicly known, like he's talking about. So you have to have this confidentiality.
Christianity.
Right, and so there's government military bases that have buildings that are haunted, but the government stance doesn't exist. So, you do what you can to help the people, and you keep their confidentiality.
And the church would be the first ones to make sure that, because their idea is heaven and hell. I mean, when you pass away, you either go to heaven or you go to hell.
Right.
I would think that the whole point of it being, because churches, you have funerals at churches where, the entity, maybe if they were a congregate member of that church, and that's where they felt their
comfort.
The whole would be there.
Right. Yeah, they go where they want to go, and we have, a hotel owner that stays with this hotel. That makes sense to you and I. And then we have this person that doesn't seem to make a connection that we understand, but boy, they understand it, and this is where they're comfortable. And yeah, they're the people that are noticing it, and they contact us and say, I can't believe I finally got a hold of you, and I never thought I would get a hold of a group like you. So we have to promise them the confidentiality and stuff, and then we go in, and of course when you give them the information of, yeah, you're haunted, here's our evidence and stuff, and they want to know what to do, how to shoo that thing out of here.
but you're very like held under wraps at the same time.
It has to be. It's a professional, it's an unrecognized science, so you put as much profession into it that you can, while you're waiting for it to be recognized and stuff.
Right. No, I shut them off. I shut them off. So, anyways, I had one more question, and I wish we could have gotten to this, a bit earlier, and which is actually on the title of his book, is out of body experience. Have you 3? I'm forgetting those guys, and I'm forgetting her. So you guys have had an out of body experience.
That's my diary. It's not. I never set out to write a book. I'm
just saying. I'm just saying.
I was writing about my personal experiences. I never planned on writing a book, but I wanted to share it with people because it's been happening to me since I was 5. I had no idea because I was raised Catholic. I'm a recovering Catholic now. But I had no idea. Yeah,
Recovering.
I had no idea that this was even real, that this happened to people. I have an idea. And because of the superstition in my family, there's no way that I even thought this was legitimate or real. And it wasn't until later on I was 5 years old, and I would tell my mother, Mom, I wake up in my dream and I fly. I didn't know what an astral travel was or out of body experiences, or I'm a member of the International Association of Near-Death Studies now, been a 15-year member. I had no idea what near-death experiences was. So yes, it definitely has happened to me. It continues to happen to me. I don't have to try. It happens once a week. I document it, and I was really shocked and pleasantly surprised that people all over the world are having these experiences. So definitely.
Well, have you got Diane?
No astral
Katie?
for me.
She's a scientific one. she'd have to measure it as she was leaving, you know. So.
It's a dream. I live.
Wait, let me measure. No, I cannot do that, and I try not to do that because since I'm a medium, if I leave my body, it's in my situation, it's vulnerable for lower level energies to
Okay.
mess around.
Well, we're going to close it up, but I'm going to close it with this statement right here. I've died 3 times, and there was no out of body experience. There was no white light. There was no tunnel.
Actually, I only did 3 times to the OD. My friend basically, well, he died.
Well, I got shot once, and I got stabbed 6 times once, and then the other one was an OD. So I died three times before I got to the hospital. So and there, me personally, that's why I became an atheist. There's no heaven, there's no hell, there's no after body experience. There is just, when you're gone, I think personally that you are given the chance to look over your loved ones. That's what I feel that is around me. I think I might be, the person that attracts good spirits because I don't have poltergeists. I don't have, knives, flying across the room, windows exploding, blood, flowing down the walls. I just think that, the entities that are around me just like to have a lot of fun with me half the time. And, this is not going to be the last show. Like I said, I've got a million questions. And I'm going to ask you, I'm going to put you on the spot right now. Would you guys be willing to do another show with me?
Of course.
Sure.
Diane?
Absolutely.
Okay, very
Give me
good.
a free tune-up.
I think you need to put all your equipment up in my shop
You're the
and
only
just
one I let touch my bike,
figure
so
something out,
you're the only
Okay.
one. Well, I can share with you this. Like I said, I've been a member of the International Association of Near-Death Studies for a long time, and I've interviewed people who've had near-death experiences, approximately 8 million people in the world. I mean, in the United States alone who've had them. One of them was a 7-year-old boy who had an experience, and he should not have been able to share the things that he shared. So I think it's very interesting.
Well, I'm not saying that I seen like the gates of the gates of heaven. You know what I mean? It's like something opened up. And it was like, oh, well, you're not, and some voice was saying, oh, Zig, it's not your time. Or I seen like the gates of hell, and then I seen people suffering. And, Zig, you've been an asshole your whole life. This is where you're going. That's beside the point. But you know what I'm saying? But I have seen that. So, but we got to do this on the show.
Yes.
We got to do this on the show. Albert, you're in?
Sure.
Look at Diane.
Okay.
Yes.
Katie?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, very good. So anyway,
I can bring someone in or bring the little meter thing in.
We don't need another meter thing. We already have people that.
Yes,
I have that.
Okay, well, I'm sure they have their own meters, but I mean,
Is this my book?
someone that
I will get you one.
particularly
I promise.
called
I
in.
promise.
Okay, because I do need one because I want to read this.
It would be my pleasure.
Okay, very good. Stick around. Stick around for. Why do I have control of your music? I did not.
And you muted us.
The effects. I muted you guys for a reason.
Oh, fuck off.
Okay. The phone. I didn't mute the music. Well, let me see. The engineer's up.
Oh.
No, it's right here. Yeah, it's right here.
Oh, shit.
You want to try it again?
There we go.
Katie, look right here.
Rachel said there's a spirit right here.
Okay, see, very good. So there you go. Try to mess with us.
It's an anal zig zone.
All right,
Spirit.
so stick around for the Roy and Jimmy thing. The Masters of Comedy. I love.
Did you hear? They have the Kevin Walker tonight filling in with them.
Do they really?
Yeah. So we
Oh, very nice. Yeah, we'll get the fuck out of here.
fuck out, everybody.
All right, guys. Thanks for having stick around the Zig Zone. Next week we have another surprise on Monday. We'll be back. GOBV,
Get ready for the replay.
Lena,
609.
blah.
Kaotic Radio.
Oh, fucker.
Next time I want to screenshots.
Do you speak
Thank you. That was
Spanish?
awesome.
Do you speak Spanish?
Very little.
Only.
Un poquito.
Yeah, we kind of lost control after the
Just a
fourth
bit,
show.
keep this, but no.
That's why he
Um,
muted us, because we were like taking over.
Because if you speak Spanish, I got this version too. So you let me know.
That's
That was
never did
awesome.
mine.
I loved it.
Yeah, it was. We got to get more into
Well,
don't
it's-
investigate your own house. And
well, see, that's why I started.
No,
There's
no,
not enough
no.
time in 2 hours. To cover this. There's not. There is not. So what I'll do is I'll do a segment, and then so we'll get it to where we do. Because I'm basing my shows based a lot on motorcycles and music. We'll get it, and I get booked up well in advance. I get like hundreds of bands that are like dining.